interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast. The German news agency Transocean said today the broadcast.
Here's another late development, and this news keeps coming in.
So that was a pretty big announcement that happened yesterday, and as you would expect, reactions across the internet were, pretty level-headed.
What the fuck?
What the fuck, y'all? God damn! God damn!
I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Before I get started with this video, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel, or subscribe to the channel, like the video. Liking the video definitely helps it within the YouTube algorithm to get more eyes on it. Subscribing to the channel means you and I get to spend more time together. Shameless self-promotion out of the way, guys, we had a pretty huge day yesterday. Last day of January, after fans drove themselves crazy like crackheads for a month asking for it, we finally got an official announcement from James Gunn and Peter Safran, along with a million other quotes about this new DC universe that they're building. We got a couple of release dates, we got a lot of information regarding the overall scope and direction of the universe without actually knowing the entire story yet. I'm here to break down the slate and give my opinions on what happened, what didn't happen, and what still is going to happen in the future going forward. Let's start this off by dealing with the timeline directly. So there are 4 DC films coming out this year. You got Shazam, Fury of the Gods, you've got The Flash, you've got Blue Beetle, and you've got Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. So Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and The Flash, those are basically the last films of the DCEU. The DCEU is no more after The Flash. And that's because The Flash is going to reset the universe. The events of The Flash are going to transition into what the DCU is. Blue Beetle, I think, is the first unofficial film in the new DCU. Then you've got Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, which is also going to be the second unofficial movie in the DCU. These are going to somehow tie into this new universe, but we don't know how yet. My guess is there's gonna be a shit ton of like reshoots and some stuff that's gonna be added so that it doesn't feel like it's part of the old DCEU and it is transitioning into something else. They might add and take stuff away. I don't know how that's gonna work out. In 2024, we have something called Creature Commandos coming out. Creature Commandos is apparently another attempt by Amanda Waller to form a Task Force X after Amanda Waller was exposed in Peacemaker for developing Task Force X. Amanda Waller in this animated show is going to be voiced by Viola Davis. That's a big thing in this new DCU, is that actors and actresses are going to be doing a lot of work, not just live action, but also animated, also games. They're gonna transition across all mediums. You've got Waller. Waller is going to be another TV series for HBO that's gonna focus on Amanda Waller, but it's also probably gonna be like a pseudo version of Peacemaker Season 2. So those are gonna be the first 2 projects, those 2 TV shows in the DCU. And then the first real official movie of the DCU is a new Superman movie. This is gonna be the Superman movie that James Gunn has been writing his script on. It's gonna be called Superman Legacy, and it actually has a release date. July of 2025, I'm pretty sure that's the release date. So we actually have 3, I think, or no, 2 DC movies that are scheduled for 2025. You got Superman Legacy, which kicks off the new DCU, and you've got DC Elseworlds story, The Batman Part 2. Yeah, another thing that they confirmed in this plan is that there's gonna be the DCU, and then there's gonna be DC Elseworlds. DC Elseworlds are other movies, other TV shows, other projects that take place outside of the main continuity of the DCU. And the Batman, we all know that Matt Reeves, his Batman universe exists separately, apart from everything else, so that movie is gonna be part of the DC Elseworlds banner. And after the Batman Part 2, you've got a shit ton of other projects. You've got The Authority, you've got Swamp Thing, you've got a new Batman and a new Batman movie called The Brave and the Bold. Brave and the Bold apparently is gonna be Batman, and it's gonna be Damian Wayne, and I think it's a weird choice to skip to Damian Wayne right off the bat, but hey, maybe they've got a story-based reason for it. But you've also got Lanterns, which is gonna be a TV series on HBO that features Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. That show apparently is gonna have big implications for the rest of the DCU. You've got Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which I think is based off of a comic run by Tom King. I actually really like that comic run. You've also got Paradise Lost, which is a Wonder Woman prequel, and then you've got Booster Gold, and these are just the projects that were officially announced. I think he said this is only part of Chapter One. We don't have the full Chapter One yet, so there could be more stuff that's gonna get announced. It's probably because they're waiting for scripts and directors to actually get hired. One thing that Gunn and Safran mentioned that I actually kind of like is that they're gonna wait until the scripts are done before they just greenlight projects and put them in motion and give them release dates and stuff. He doesn't want to rush the process. He wants to make sure that the scripts are locked and the directors are chosen and everybody's on the same page. I think that's actually a pretty good thing. The focus on quality over quantity in terms of like rushing these films and projects out like it's an assembly line, I think that's an attention to detail that I appreciate. But guys, this was a lot of information yesterday. I would describe my feelings as being very mixed bag. There's actual things within this DC universe that I'm actually pretty interested in or excited about or think could be intriguing down the line. One thing I like about it is the diversity of the projects. I like the fact that they give us the A-listers, like they give us Superman, they give us Batman, there's a Wonder Woman prequel, the Green Lanterns, I would consider them A-list. There's also a lot of other deep pulls from DC's lore that most people are not gonna be familiar with, characters and stories that people have not heard of. Like Milestorm is like an imprint from DC for back in the day. That's how you're gonna get the Authority, which is basically like a team of superheroes that are more like anti-heroes in the way that they go about their business. I like the fact that there's diversity here, and not just diversity in terms of the different type of characters that are being used, but what about the stories that are being told? Swamp Thing, that movie's being described as a horror movie. We heard today that James Mangold might be in conversations. He might be in talks to direct that movie. So just think of the talent that they could have rolling in to direct all these different projects.
I wonder what project Ben Affleck is going to be directing for DC. Everybody thinks it's going to be Brave and the Bold. Something tells me it could be something that we haven't even seen or announced yet. Like, I don't know, that's interesting.
One of the things I'm a little bit mixed on is the idea of having voice talent transition between all of these mediums in the DCU. That's a shit ton of work. Voice acting is hard, and that's a difficult thing to like connect across all mediums. It sounds ambitious, which is part of the reason why I think it sounds awesome. Maybe it's too ambitious. Also, is it taking roles and spots away from other voice talent, like other voice actors? I don't know. Voice actors have it hard enough already. Video games and animated TV shows, live action TV shows, live action movies, to connect all of that in one universe and have all of the actors transitioning between the projects, using their voice talent for different work. Like, that's very ambitious stuff, but it's also like, how are they gonna pull that off logistically, like schedule wise, and in terms of the hours that voice actors have to put in there? And also, again, just because you're good at live action doesn't mean you're gonna be good at voice talent and vice versa. I also like that there's a good mix of writers here. You have writers that have worked on TV and movies before. You have Drew Goddard, who did season 1 of Daredevil. Christina Hodson, who's definitely been involved with writing scripts for DC for a while. She wrote Birds of Prey, she wrote The Flash, she wrote the Batgirl movie that unfortunately was canceled. You have Tom King, who's also in the writer's room. I will admit that Tom King, his work is a mixed bag at best. There's some stuff I like from Tom King, and you have other shit from Tom King that I don't even need to bring up, but it's just, I don't know what Tom King was thinking there. Apparently a lot of the stuff in this DCU is gonna be influenced by Grant Morrison. If you guys don't know who Grant Morrison is, Google him. He's a fucking legend in the lore of DC Comics. Stuff like that gets me excited. What I'm not excited about is the process around which all of this actually happened. So basically, what I'm taking away from this news yesterday and what they're basically saying with their quotes, I mean, James Gunn actually pretty much came out and said it. Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck are no longer Superman and Batman. We're gonna have a new Superman, we're gonna have a new Batman. Cool. In fact, I think I would have preferred like a hard reboot type of thing. If you're gonna be switching the universe around, if you're gonna be changing the universe, yeah, just go all out with it and just replace all the other actors. It sounds like, based on what Gunn and Safran said, the other actors, the other characters, they're gonna have a chance to maybe reprise their roles in this universe at some point. They spoke about Ezra yesterday. They said that they're doing a good job with their rehab and that The Flash is awesome, but some of that could be PR, like they have to say stuff like that. We will definitely find out the fate of Ezra Miller after The Flash. They kind of need The Flash to be a big hit, but then Gal doesn't have anything scheduled in the DCU, at least so far. Could be that they're waiting to get a really good script for another Wonder Woman movie before they move forward. I mean, Wonder Woman 1984, I love Patty, but that movie was just
that shit is a 2-pack of ass. The fuck are you talking about? That shit stinks.
That's just my opinion, but it also was a very divisive movie among the fandom, and obviously because of the pandemic didn't make that much money. So they're probably trying to make sure they have everything in order before they move forward with a new Wonder Woman movie. I feel like Gal doesn't have anything scheduled in Chapter 1 right now, so it's kind of up in the air. Likewise, Jason Momoa is probably gonna stick around after Aquaman. I mean, they talked about maybe another Aquaman sequel, like that's a possibility, but then there's also a possibility that he could be recast as Lobo, and that's something that Jason Momoa has wanted wanted to do could be excited about. So there's a lack of clarity on who's actually staying and who's actually going, and it feels like it's only Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck that are definitively not going to be a part of the universe. There's some bad optics here, and I understand why DC fans are so frustrated. I'm frustrated too, because Henry Cavill, it feels like we had him back and then he was snatched away from us. He never got a chance to really get another chance. I will say, however, that as much as James Gunn irritates me, and as much as I'm not actually a big fan of James Gunn, especially as a filmmaker, I can't in good consciousness lay everything at his feet when it comes to Henry Cavill. People say that he fired Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill didn't actually have a job to get fired from, bro. Henry Cavill did not have anything confirmed for Superman. He didn't have a new contract. He didn't have new scheduled appearances. He had a cameo in Black Adam, and a lot of that was because of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his agent Danny Garcia, and them appealing to the old DC bosses, or the temporary DC bosses that were kind of holding things down until the new DC bosses came in. Well, if the new DC bosses come in and they have their own idea about how they want to do things, they're not obligated to just give Henry the job of Superman just because he's been Superman. Like, they have the right to go in their own direction, and they have their own vision for how they want to do things. Does it suck? Fuck yeah, it sucks, and it hurts, and it's terrible, and it makes me mad, and it pisses me off that Henry just was abandoned for almost over half a decade and never got a chance to really play the role the way that he wanted to play it. I don't think you can blame all of that on James Gunn. I think you can blame that on the previous regime, and I think you can blame it on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Danny Garcia basically banking on Black Adam being a success. They banked on that, and they made Henry Cavill come out and basically say, "I'm back," and nothing was secure, nothing was actually locked down, and I feel like that was a mistake. And it sucks because it got the fans' hopes up, and it made the fans pissed off, because fans still want to see Henry Cavill as Superman. I'm not saying that the new guy is not going to be a great Superman, but he's got some big shoes to fill. You also got to look at this from a business standpoint and take your emotions out of it a little bit. Guys, if we're being honest, if we're being fair, even though the futures of the rest of the cast of the OG DCU is kind of up in the air and in flux and we don't have clarity, the fact that they are given the opportunity, like the door is still open for them, it's not a coincidence. It's been clear in my opinion that Zaslav had a mandate that he gave to James Gunn, and that mandate was, you need to revitalize Superman and Batman. If we're being honest, guys, and when it comes to Superman and Batman, they had a more divisive reaction among fans, general audience, critics, compared to Gal Gadot, compared to Jason Momoa, compared to, you know, all these other people. Jason had the only billion-dollar movie in the DCEU, so it would make sense that they would be like, well, from a business standpoint, a lot of people like those characters. Those characters are not as divisive. We could bring them back. As opposed to Superman and Batman, played respectively by Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, where it's like the reception to them was more divisive. It just was. And from a business standpoint, they could look at that and be like, well, we don't want the polarization of Superman and Batman to continue into a new universe. We want to start fresh, at least with those characters, give them a chance to get reacclimated to a modern audience. From a business point, it sucks balls, but I understand, I get it. I mean, I know why Gal and Jason, even Ezra to a certain degree, even Ezra doesn't really have any real skin in the game. He's only been in 1.5 movies, but I get why they're a safer bet right now than Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck. Like I said, if it were up to me, I would have just wiped the slate clean and done completely new actors for all the characters and just do it that way. It would have been easier. Instead, it looks like it's gonna be a soft reboot where they're gonna reboot Superman and Batman, but then everything else, it just kind of depends. As far as projects that I'm looking forward to on the slate, I would say the ones that I'm most intrigued by, most interested in, are Swamp Thing. I'm a big Swamp Thing fan. I'm interested in Blue Beetle, especially now that I know there's gonna be actually a part of this new DCU. I'm excited for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I think that could be pretty cool. The Authority and Lanterns sound interesting. As far as the Lanterns, it does kind of bum me out that it's gonna be a series and not a movie, and it kind of bums me out that it's gonna take place on Earth. But at the same time, maybe I'm just so starved for Green Lantern content that I'm just kind of cool with it. I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's fine. Just give me lanterns. Give me lanterns. I'm mixed about the Brave and the Bold movie that they're doing with this new Batman. I don't know why they're skipping over Dick Grayson as Nightwing just to get to Damian Wayne. Like, it just feels like they're introducing the Bat family a little quick, but at the same time, we get to see Prime Batman in a fantastical universe. That's pretty cool. Not really interested in the Superman one, which kind of breaks my heart, but maybe I could be persuaded if I see a trailer, if I like the kid that they pick, or if they pick a director, a real director that can really bring justice to this character in all the ways, especially visually. I'm in kind of wait and see mode with more than half of this new DCU. I'm more interested in the projects that they didn't announce, to be honest. Like, we're clearly gonna get a Justice League at the end of DCU Chapter One, right? Like, we're probably gonna get that. We might get a Wonder Woman movie. They say they have Chapter One and Chapter Two mapped out. I think it's cool that they're mapped out as chapters and they have cool titles that actually apply to the theme of some of the movies that they're going with. I'm also really interested in DC Elseworlds because I think that gives filmmakers and artists an opportunity to put their stamp on certain characters and certain stories without it having to connect to anything. So I respect the ambition of tying everything in across all mediums in the DCU, but I like the fact that we're still gonna get DC Elseworld stuff where they'll have games and TV shows and movies that don't have anything to do with anything, and it's just cool DC stuff. I don't like the bad process about how all of this came about. I am hurting right now for Henry Cavill. Ben changes his mind on being Batman all the time, so I understand why you need somebody a little bit more stable in that role. I want to know what your thoughts are on this new DCU Chapter One, Gods of Monsters. Are you excited? What are you looking forward to? What are you not looking forward to? If you were promoted to the head of DC Studios, tell me what you would do. How would you handle all of this? What would you do to set your universe up? Let me know in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.